Hello, welcome back. This is A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love. I'm Reverend Tomas Garza, and well, Cindy, my wife, and I are back today in Arizona. We're back at home, and this is my office here. So we've had a great trip, and I really want to thank all of you who tuned in to the videos that I was able to shoot on the road here. And for all of the new subscribers, welcome, welcome. Now, also, quick shout out before we launch into the idea for today here in the clarification of terms in the course is I really want to give a shout out to all of you who are joining me also from Enlightened World Network. Now, this series of videos began as a live stream about a year and a half ago on Enlightened World Network. In fact, if you scroll back through this YouTube channel, you will see some of the older videos which were live, and you'll of course see me checking my cell phone for comments and responding to them, things like that. That is how this began, and about 6 months into that process we decided to just pre-record the series instead. So that is the genesis of A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love. And now I'm continuing that and supplementing that. We've been through the workbook for students, we've been through the manual for teachers, and this is the clarification of terms where we find ourselves today. Very handy indeed. And in today's conversation, we get a lot of very valuable clarification and handy information about the entire thought system of the course right here. And this is, well, the clarification of terms, Jesus and Christ. Two words that we put together all the time, sometimes when we're upset. Right? Yes. So let's talk about this here in the clarification of terms. What pops to mind is when people think of Christ, most of the time people are referring to the historical Jesus. Yeah, really, the man that walked the earth about 2,000 years ago, and you know the whole story. Right? You know the whole story of teaching of the crucifixion, the resurrection, all of that. Now, here in A Course in Miracles, there is a broader definition of Christ, which is actually the definition of Christ. It's not Christ one person, but the Christ, which is the Son of God. That's the Christ, the Son of God. The exact language is right here in the clarification of terms, paragraph 3. I refer you to that. Yeah, we are the Christ. This is how we are. It's what we are. This is the way God created us. And the term Christ properly applies to each and every one of us, not just Jesus. So what's different? Well, Jesus leads the way. He completed his part in the language of the Course 2,000 years ago, which means attained enlightenment, attained awakening, attained oneness with God, which we've never lost, by the way. He just figured it out and completed his part. The very first sentence of this explanation here of Jesus and Christ tells us in no uncertain terms that we have never left heaven. You have never left. Is it easy to get into heaven? You're already there. You've never left. We're just having a mad dream, which sometimes looks like a bona fide nightmare. doesn't it? The world of suffering, the ego, where we run amok. That's something I like to say, because look at the news. When you look at your news feed, is there any doubt but that we're utterly confused and lost and running amok? Yet we have a shining, beautiful example of someone who completed his part and calls us home, calls us to join him. So will you? Will you? There is a constant invitation. And what we call the spiritual path is our own process, and it's highly individualized here in the world, isn't it? You see people that appear to be making what we deem loads of progress, tons of progress, leaps and bounds, quantum leaps, in fact, whereas we might feel awful. We might be going through a rough patch in life. Maybe you are right now today. Yet, in the midst of all this, we have a shining, loving example of how to allow ourselves to experience who we really are, the Christ. We have someone who points the way. Jesus points the way. Now, is he the only teacher that points the way? Very good question. And the answer is, of course not. How could that possibly be? Because here in the illusion of time, there are many different time frames, aren't there? There are many different places in the world and historical time frames. So how could there only be one teacher that leads the way? Ultimately, of course, we're all one, but here in the world, here in time, the teacher takes on many different names for different spiritual traditions that arose at different points in time. There is a different name. It's not the outward form that matters. This is a central message of A Course in Miracles. It is not the outward form that matters, but the underlying content. It's not the effect, the outer appearance that matters, but the cause that matters. That is, in fact, universal. And A Course in Miracles is just one component of what Jesus refers to as the universal course awakening. That is the universal course. We've never left heaven. You've never left heaven. Ideas leave not their source. This is a very, very often quoted line from A Course in Miracles. And, well, that's the way it is. Ideas leave not their source. You, the thought of God, the Son of God, the Christ, have not left your source. And what is going on here is Jesus is calling you to join him. So will you? Will you? The invitation is constant, and it's not forceful. It's not the invitation that you may have heard if you were raised in a fundamentalist tradition, as I was. The invitation was more like a cattle prod. In my case, it was the threat of eternal damnation that was the so-called invitation. But no, this invitation is ongoing, it's constant, and it's loving. Jesus is simply inviting each and every one of us to join him, to set the ego aside as he did, and to allow him to teach us, to show the way. Now, if you have a different guide or guides, good, no problem, right? This is universal. There are many doors, as I'm fond of saying. And it's true, there are many different spiritual paths. What matters is that you're on one of them. And if you're on 27 of them, so be it. Good. What matters is that you're paying attention to this material, that you're thinking about what a teacher like me says, because what you're looking at is just, again, an image on your screen. There's nothing special or nothing different about me. I'm simply answering the call, and I invite you to do the same, whatever the outward form looks like. Because we have help, you have help. So it is incumbent upon us to recognize that and be glad, to be joyful and grateful for that help, and to call upon it because it's mighty and powerful. And where are we going? Well, there's no place to go. We're simply clearing the illusion, we're removing the veil. And what's behind it is who we have always been. Ideas leave not their source. You have never left your source. So let's all join together and awaken to this, shall we? All right. Thank you all, as always, for joining me.